All in Sports Network. We love sports.
It is Wednesday, June 18th, right here on your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns. This is episode 200. We've come out with 200 of these bad boys just for you. And I'm Tanner Carlson. That's Jake Jimerson. This is All In Horns, brought to you by Rogue Sports Network. And Jake, it's been a fun 200 episodes. Today's episode, let's dive into a little bit of Texas Longhorn football, just because we haven't had, I don't know, maybe 5 episodes since we last talked deeply into deep details of our thoughts on the upcoming 2025 season and kind of what the ceiling is, Jake, at this point. What is the 2025 ceiling? What does a successful season look like to you and I? What are some of the highest possible potential parts of the team? What are some things that we think that they might need to work on a little bit and could cause questions of concern going into the 2025 season? And also just what this schedule looks like. I've seen some good clickbait out there. It's off season, it's clickbait season, so be very careful what you're clicking on, ladies and gentlemen. But I had somebody talking about how Texas had the number 2 hardest schedule in all of college football. And I was like, okay, guys, we can't go from
I saw that list.
Let's take it easy. We can't go from Texas had the easiest schedule of the history of all college athletic sports in last year to having the second most difficult this year. With essentially the exact same teams from last year's schedule on this year's schedule.
Yeah, no, that one was wild. I think it was top 5 hardest SEC schedules or something like that. OU wasn't even in it, which,
yeah,
I mean, I love to dunk on OU, but to say their schedule isn't harder than Texas's is crazy. We've admitted their schedule was a death row last year. It's just as much, if not more, of a death row this year. So yeah, to say, I think Texas schedule is harder than some people make it out to be, but that list was crazy. But we are in full clickbait season, and it's going to be that way for a few months now.
Yeah, so I'm telling everybody right now, if you are on X or Facebook or whatever your vice is, don't let the influencers get to you. Don't let the bloggers and the thumbnails and the crazy content that's going to be popping up over the next 2 to 3 months get to you. It's all clickbait. Don't worry about it. We'll get there together, hand in hand, step by step. We'll get to the start of the regular season, week 1 against Ohio State. Jake, let's talk a little bit about the potential ceiling of this team. Is this team's ceiling just as high, if not higher, do you think, of the teams that we've seen over the last 2 seasons who have made it to the semifinal round of the college football playoffs?
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like there's more uncertainty. But because of some of the names that are coming in, not just Arch Manning, but other, you feel confident about some of the guys you're changing out in the offensive line. You feel like the defense should be pretty damn good again. The pass rush should be even better. The secondary should still be really good. Maybe not quite as good as last year, but still a top secondary. The linebackers should be better because you're returning everyone.
I would be hard-pressed to find a better linebacking core than this one at Texas in the entire country.
Yeah, and I think they have the best edge group in the entire country as well. And I think their defensive tackles will be fine. And I think their second, I think this defense could be a top 5 defense easily again this next season.
Well, let's do a little compare and contrast. We're talking about the last 2 seasons of Texas, their semifinal appearance seasons back to back, compared to this new season with a new quarterback, a new offensive line, similar defense, some familiar names, but new wide receiving core, new running backs. Jake, a little compare and contrast. Do you think that this year's defense is going to be better than what we saw last year's defense? Last year's defense, I would almost put it up there as one of the best Texas Longhorn defenses we've ever seen.
I would say it's the best we've ever seen in our lifetime.
So let's use that as the measuring stick. Where's this defense compared to last year's defense?
If last year's defense was the number 1 in the country, I think this year's defense will be around 4 to 5. with potential to be a 3. I don't think this defense will be as good as last year's.
Okay.
I just because you lose a Makuba, you lose a Jade Barron, you lose what you lost at defensive tackle, and you don't have a for sure fire. Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins were pretty surefire replacements, I thought. From Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat to be the next stud stepping in. I don't think you have that this year, D tackle. I think they'll be fine at D tackle. I just don't think you have that surefire dominant duo stepping in. Jade Barron, you can't just replace him easily, but they should be fine at corner. The early reviews of Gilbo at corner are very high. That's why he's staying there, not going to star. And then obviously Manny Muhammad. I think many, including us, expect him to have a huge year. And you're still very good at safety. Obviously, with Michael Taff in company back there. Jelani McDonald, a star on the rise as well. So I think they'll be a top 5 defense in the country, at top 10 at worst, unless they have a bunch of injuries.
A healthy Derek Williams coming back.
Derek Williams coming back. An edge, a rush group that should just be absolutely horrifying everyone.
When you say Texas edge rushers, I just start getting this giddy,
because it includes Anthony Hill, who can come off the edge, and you can have LaFau out there. You can have Spence out there at linebacker. You can have a Ty Anthony Smith out there linebacker. Have Hill coming off the edge. They can do the NASCAR package again to the extreme. Colin Simmons year 2, that's terrifying. Ethan Burke. Continue to come on. Colton Vasek, if he can stay healthy. You're just Lance Jackson, a freshman coming in. That's going to be hard to keep off of the field. Let's not forget Jonah Williams coming in on the secondary as well. It's going to be hard to keep off the field. This defense should be really good. And that's why, for me, the overall ceiling of this team is higher because I think the defense is not going to drop off enough to make a huge difference. I do think the schedule is harder because you go to Ohio State, you go to Florida, you go to Georgia. You have some kind of lame home games, by the way.
Florida and OU are better teams this year. They're going to be
OU is going to be astronomically. OU and Florida could be top 10 teams in actual reality that end with 7 to 8 wins each. Because of their schedules, because Florida and OU have 2 of the hardest schedules in the entire country.
And if Texas drops one of those 2 games, I'm not going to be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
No, I wouldn't either. But
I'd be upset.
I would be. The Florida game terrifies me a lot. Going to Florida, the playmakers they have, that's going to be a scary game for sure. But I think the reason why the ceiling is higher is because I think the offense's ceiling is just higher than what we've seen the last 2 offenses be. And it is because of the difference maker at quarterback and an offensive line that should still be very solid. Running back group, surely a star or 2 will emerge from this group of about 5 extremely talented running backs.
I'm not concerned about running back.
Wide receiver group's probably a bigger word, but it's really not, because to me, you know what you have in Ryan Wingo and DeAndre Moore as your top 2. I think an Emmett Mosley is going to be really good. I think the ceiling of this offense is astronomically high. An offense that will not have problems finishing drives, scoring touchdowns, and blowing teams out and putting them away and not allowing teams back in it. I think that's where this team could be a lot better than previous years. The problem is I do think there's a lower floor because there is uncertainty, especially for me. I'm going to say it over. There's a lot of uncertainty at the offensive line, and your offensive line can drag. They can raise your ceiling to being one of the best teams to play college football. They can also lower this floor down to being a 8-win team.
Well, and I also look at it like this. Texas's SEC schedule, and that's not even counting Ohio State week 1. So you got Ohio State week 1. You've got 3 weeks to kind of get ready for SEC play. Start off with Florida and OU back-to-back to start off play. And then the end of your season, Georgia on the road, Arkansas at home, A&M at home. Those last 3 games are going to be big. And those teams, Georgia obviously is going to be fighting for an SEC championship spot. Arkansas and A&M, they're going to be probably maybe at that point fighting for bowl contention, or going to be fighting maybe for playoff contention. We saw A&M fighting for their first SEC championship appearance last year in that Texas A&M game. But those last 3 games, Jake, especially with those teams who Texas and Georgia, let's be real, that's becoming a little rivalry. That's starting to become a pretty.
It'll be a rivalry when Texas wins one, though.
But
it's not a rivalry yet.
No, I agree. I agree with that. But it is starting to become kind of like these teams don't like each other.
Yeah, I mean, that SEC championship game, people who were sideline reporters that were sitting on the sideline watching the game, and people that were at the game, scouts that were at the game, was like, this was like watching an NFL game as far as speed, the physicalness of it. And right now is the team that Texas will be looking to knock off and kind of make it a rivalry. If Texas could knock them off in Georgia this year, I do think Georgia will start to have a little more disdain for Texas. If you're a Georgia fan right now, you're going, Texas isn't a rival because you're beat. It's just like how we talk about A&M, not to the same extreme, because that is a century of dominance versus 1 year. But yeah, I mean, that it has potential to become a rivalry in the SEC. It feels like, especially if Texas can keep being a top program like Georgia has proven that they can be over the last few years. And if Texas ends this year, being in the playoff, competing for a national title again, it'll feel like this program has more than officially arrived. It'll be a proven commodity at that point, if it is not already.
Where I see, here are the position groups that I see are going to be upgraded from a season ago. And this is just off the top of my head. It's just me talking out loud. I haven't written anything down. I've got no statistical proof of any of this. This is just where I think brain and heart of the Texas Longhorns is going to be an upgrade at these positions this year compared to last year. And I'm going to start at the quarterback position, Jake. I think we've upgraded at quarterback. I love Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers will always have a very special place in my fandom, without a doubt, forever and ever. I think Arch Manning is going to be a step up. I think the plays that he's capable of making, and now being in this system for 3 years now with a redshirt year, and he's getting his first go at it as an all-time first-time starter in training camp, and is going to be getting first-team reps and working with his receivers, and is the guy. Yeah, we've got an upgrade at quarterback. I think running back position, Jake, I think we're an upgrade from. I know we've got some returning players, but you get a CJ Baxter coming back, and you get a Trey Wisner coming back. Those 2 guys, like you said, one of the 5 guys in the backfield is going to make an impact without a doubt. I can't say for sure tight end. I can't say for sure wide receiver, and I can't say for sure offensive line.
I think you can say for sure tight end. You got a proven commodity at tight end as far as actual numbers go from the transfer portal. Now, will he fit in the Texas system perfect? I have a hard time seeing him not. Texas is such a tight end friendly system.
I kind of forgot about the Cal transfer.
Jack Endries.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about the Cal transfer. I'll have to see it. Now, Gunnar Helm did so much more, and I know he's kind of an all-around. He's a blocker, receiving tight end as well. I just need to see it, and I might fall in love with him after the Ohio State game. I just haven't seen it before.
Yeah, but his Cal tape really impressed me. I just have a hard time not seeing him transfer over well to Texas into that system. And I'm a Jordan Washington believer as well.
This conversation could have been happened the last 2 years at Texas about the tight end position too, by the way. You go to JT Sanders. I don't really know what we've got in JT Sanders. He's supposed to be an athletic freak. Be curious how he does. He ends up being a stud, and then all of a sudden it's like he's in the NFL draft and he's playing at Carolina, and then it's like, well, Gunnar Helm. I don't really know about Gunnar Helm. It just is what it is. And then he ends up he's the most reliable and best wide receiver option for Quinn Ewers ending last year, and now going into this year after replacing Gunnar Helm. It's been a rotating door of successful tight ends under Steve Sarkisian, and so am excited about that. On the defense side of the ball, Jake, I'm gonna say edge rushers definitely, I can say, is an upgrade from last year. Defensive tackles, I'll just say it's a down, or It's not an upgrade. I don't know if it's a downgrade. It's not an upgrade. Linebackers, upgrade. And that's just because they're all returning and they all should just be better than they were the year before. Secondary, I'm going to actually push this. Just because you lost Andrew Makuba doesn't mean a Jelani McDonald or a Derek Williams can't step up, or even a Jonah Williams can't step up and fill that role. Now, I don't think the leadership and the experience is going to be there at safety. Obviously, you've got Michael Taff, and his communication, his leadership will play a big role. But like you mentioned, you lose a Jahdae Barrett in the secondary. That's tough to replace. You lose Makuba. That's tough to replace. But I do think that this Texas defense as a whole, I'm not too sure that I can't say they won't be an upgrade as an overall unit than we were last year.
Yeah, I don't think the stats will be what they were last year because I think the schedule's harder. I think you're going to be playing much better quarterbacks.
Mateer at OU is going to be much better. DJ Lagway is actually going to be playing, hopefully. And I want all these guys to play against Texas. I don't want I don't want third string Harvard players playing against Texas. Okay. I just don't want that. But I'll be very interested to see Mateer playing for OU, Lagway playing for Florida. And I want all these players to Diego Pavia coming back to Vanderbilt. He'll be a big name to kind of look out for. And it's just going to be Marcel Reed. I'm very interested to see kind of his progression at A&M to see what he can do under Elko's system.
Green at Arkansas as well. He was one of the better looking quarterbacks I thought Texas played. He was just having to make plays all on his own. If that team around him can step up, he's certainly a dangerous QB. I think the level of QB play Texas has to go against this year is much, much higher than what they went against last year.
I would agree with that 100%. But Jake, so overall, we've had our discussion. Let's kind of put a bow on this episode and move along. But the Texas Longhorn 2025 season ceiling, Jake, what do you have it as?
The ceiling is a national title. It is winning a national championship to me. But at the same time, this is where I think we both wanted to have this discussion is while that ceiling, I think it's being a better football team than each of the last 2 years teams. But I think that floor is winning 8 or 9 games. That would feel really disappointing after the last couple of seasons. But injuries can happen. You're replacing 4 offensive linemen, even if you want to count Trevor Gooseby as a guaranteed surefire thing, which is crazy to say.
I was going to say a replacement.
Because it's hard to say that about Kelvin Bate, but at minimum, you're really replacing still at least 3 guys on the offensive line, including a center. That's always a tough position to replace, and you have a harder schedule. And that plays into it as well. And so that to me is why the floor is also still maybe lower than the last 2 seasons for sure. Just because I think there's a lot more losable games on the schedule. You have a QB who's going to be getting his first starts, and you got to go on the road to Ohio State week 1. That's going to be a damn hard place to win.
Jake, I'm going to say ceiling is a national championship, obviously, but the ceiling is a national championship. But here's the caveat. 1 or 2 losses, and you could still win a national championship with this team. But you could still have 1 or 2 losses on your schedule. I'm also going to say the floor is possibly outside looking into the 12-team playoff with 3 losses,
Yeah, and that's the scary thing about this season. You lose that week 1 game to Ohio State because you're an inexperienced team going at one of the hardest places to play in the country week 1. I would love for that game to not be week 1 this year. Would love for it to be week 2 or 3, just so that last year's team would have loved it to be week 1. This year's team really wish they had a tune-up game to get ready for that game. Because you drop that game, and yes, you can drop a game in this era with in this 12-team era. Yeah. But all of a sudden you can only lose 1 more game. Yeah, a 3-loss team is not getting in. And
we don't know that yet. We don't know that yet.
Well, basing it off that, I would not be confident saying 3 losses is going to get you in. And so your margin for error is next to nothing if you lose that first game,
Now
which is a very losable first game.
the ranking system has changed though, and a 3-loss Texas team I could see in the top 12.
It is possible. It is the last thing I would possibly want to rely on.
I 100% agree with that statement. All right, Jake, let's go ahead, wrap up the episode. That's Jake Jimerson. I'm Tanner Carlson. Intriguing conversation, which I'm sure this conversation is going to overlap into many, many more episodes as the offseason progresses throughout the summer. But we release these episodes daily, Monday through Friday, dropping at noon each and every single day. Episode 200. Thanks for being with us for all 200 episodes. Share with your friends. Word of mouth is great. Share us on all the social media platforms. We're also there. You can see our tags underneath our names there. Give us a quick follow. We appreciate it. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, which I didn't get to, I jumped the gun in yesterday's episode. Today's episode, as always, ladies and gentlemen, hook 'em.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.